following moves are executed by a trained professional. Please do not try this at home.
Here's what we're waiting for. Jason Williams. Williams crosses over, looking into the play. Perks a high without the window up and in.
He's a new face, but eventually, you know, people will start looking at him and saying, well, you know, we got to start seeing wins. The things that he's doing now, and I was doing that when I was 13.
Marbury probably sticks out the most, you know, by learning stuff, because at first half, you know, he was talking a little bit of trash and all this, but then the second half.
He's from New York.
Yeah, the second half he came to me, you know, he came up to me like during a free throw or something, and he was telling me I need to play at 2 different speeds.
When I was a rookie, I came in the NBA, I played at 1 speed all the time. I went through the same things that they went through, and it's a learning process.
I really didn't know what he meant, so I asked him later on in the game, well, like, what he meant. And he told me, you know, just instead of playing 100 miles an hour the whole game, you need to slow down sometimes. And, you know, I've been trying to do that.
It's been documented that when you were in college that you tested positive twice for marijuana. I talked to your coach at Florida, and who coached you at Marshall also, Billy Donovan. And he told me about this incident where you had told him that you just couldn't take school anymore. You were sitting out in a parking lot. Do you remember it?
Remember it.
What was going through your mind? I mean, didn't you realize that if you left school, that everything you worked so hard for was just going to go down the tubes?
You know, I was just being selfish, and I guess you can call it dumb, too, you know. And every day my dad and my brother came home from work, hounding me. What are you going to do? You're just sitting around here doing nothing, wasting all this talent or whatever. You know, I act like I wasn't listening, trying to be stubborn. But I really was listening, you know. And I know now from my past mistakes, you know, it's like baseball, you know. I've messed up twice, and I've messed up third strike, you're out, you know. So I know what I got to do. I just got to keep my head focused, play ball, and everything else take care of itself, I think.
On Utah and the LA Clippers, rough stuff. Mike Brown, James Edwards get tangled up. No punches, no ejections, no fun in the front row. There were technicals assessed to both guys.
Days in May, it's been confusion, frustration, and weariness etched on the faces of the champions. The Bucks are relishing their role as a spoiler, fighting back from a 3-1 deficit to send the defending champions reeling. This series has been physical on both sides, but the Bucks are winning this battle of attrition. Walton can only watch from the bench. McHale is hobbled by injuries. And Parrish is the latest victim of the Milwaukee assault. Friday night, playoff emotions led to several heated confrontations. Today, the emotions will be higher, the intensity greater, the play fiercer. Only one team will survive.
Fisticuffs action. Tuesday night in Chicago, it was 7 feet versus 7-7. The Bulls and the Bullets. Watch Jawan Oldham, number 33 for Chicago, and Manute Bol at 7'7" for Washington. Words lead to shoving. Shoving leads to swinging, and there they go. Now, how do you begin to step in between 2 7-footers? They just swing over you as they did there before Danny Roundfield on the takedown of Jawan Oldham there, and cooler heads prevail until after Manute was ejected and was walking along the sidelines. Back comes Jawan Oldham of the Bulls, and they start once again. This time, the reporters clear out in the background. The players try to step in, and this time Oldham hits the deck. Manute goes after him once again before the two sides are clear. Things calm down? Not really. Here comes number 33 once again. Chicago's Jawan Oldham has been suspended without pay for 1 game, fined $1,500 plus the automatic $250 for being ejected. Manute has been fined $500.
Now the main point of controversy in the game occurs right here. Tree Rollins going after Vinnie Johnson, and Vinnie Johnson going after Tree Rollins. Both men were ejected from the game, and it did have an effect on the Hawks down the stretch. Doc with the steal and the jam. He had 24. The Hawks led by 4 in the third.
The Knicks hosted the Orlando Magic at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks were tied at that point with Chicago and Atlanta for best record in the East. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. It was a physical afternoon. Charles Oakley lost this battle to Shaq, but he wound up with 21 rebounds for the game. Here's Scott Skiles keying the Magic in the first half. Excellent pass here. The power game inside, clearing out the paint here for 2 of his 22. He also had 13 rebounds. Orlando led by
Chicago star Michael Jordan got the beef treatment. And that collision brought about a heated discussion. this time on the sidelines. The coaches, Stan Albeck and Daly. Push led to shove.
Or Daly says, Stan, get on your chair, and now Daly and Albeck. How do you like this? When do you ever see this? Chuck Daly wants a piece of Stan Albeck. And now Vinnie Johnson.
Both received one-game suspensions. Albeck a $1,000 fine, Daly $500.
Well, I would term it, I really, at this point, I don't think it's worth really commenting on it. The only thing I would say, it's a knee-jerk reaction, and it happened. And so it's over. I got fined, I got suspended, so I paid my dues, and I'm back as a normal citizen in the NBA.
But you felt that you had something to argue about. You felt something you had to discuss, right?
Well, I've told our guys all year that this is going to be the most competitive year they've ever been in the league.
Larry Bird, as usual, was doing incredible things and ringing the scoring cash register to the tune of 29 points. The game got ugly in the final quarter. Laimbeer set a rock-like pick, and Boston's Johnson did not take kindly to the Hawks' actions. Swing time coming back up the court. Johnson swinging at Laimbeer, and Big Bill then tried to flatten the Celt. Both ejected with 4:37 remaining. But the script had already been written, and the Pistons sagged to a 124-105 loss.
Struggled to play 500 ball, even lost to much inferior teams like Indiana. An already unsettled backcourt became more so after injuries to Tiny Archibald, Quinn Buckner, and Danny Ainge. A lot of talent with not enough playing time.
Sometimes you do have a situation where you can have too many good ball players.
For Vlade Divac, who was about to debate the point. It's called on Jones, his second.
Vlade indicating to the official that his shirt was being pulled as Derek Harper and Van Exel get into a little pushing.
And a technical foul called on Derek Harper. Derek apparently had something to say off the tugging of the jersey exchange. So Van Exel shooting the technical. And the Lakers lead by 13 points. Lakers with a 7-0 run. It's called on Jones, his second.
Vlade indicating to the official that his shirt was being pulled as Derek Harper and Van Exel get into a...
Knicks want to run. Lakers get back. Harper. Derek Harper put the move on and then able to hit the spinning jump. It knocks it down to a 5-point Laker lead, and the Lakers take timeout.
Feisty, that's right. Luke Longley, watch the drive. Time to drive on Mourning, the swat, and then it gets rough. Mourning the bump for good measure. Luke responds, and then everyone else responds. Both featured fighters were ejected. Good trade for Chicago there, right? Charlotte 5-16 without Zoe in the lineup. Of course, the coach, Alan Bristow, knows that stat all too well. And Mourning's got to know better than that. Bad time of the year to be macho.
So, wir beginnen unsere Übersicht über die weiteren Playoff-Spiele bei der Partie der Indiana Pacers gegen die Milwaukee Bucks. Spiel 2 in Indiana. Spiel 1 hatten die Pacers gewonnen, aber dann ein Bären Allen und sein Team. Sie mischten ordentlich auf. Sam Cassell, der Mann, der weiß, was man tun muss, um Meister zu werden. Zweimal wurde er es mit den Rockets. Klasse Defense hier zum Beispiel von ihm. Also ein sehr gutes Spiel der Milwaukee Bucks und überraschend für alle ein Sieg für Milwaukee bei den Indiana Pacers. Aber noch viel schlimmer. Achtung hier, der Ellbogenschlag von Rick Smits gegen Irvin Johnson. Und dafür wurde Rick Smits für Spiel 3 gesperrt. Vollkommen zu Recht also. Ein hartes Match. Viele Reibereien. Aber Milwaukee gewann mit 13. Pacers achten wir mal wieder hier auf die Szene unter dem Korb. Es gibt wieder eine Schlägerei, wieder ein Gerangel. Sam Cassell und Dale Davis sind es dann am Ende, die hinausgestellt werden und sich auf den Weg in die
Rivers in the corner, three-pointer, rebound Rodman. Three-pointer Person. He's been on a three-point slide. Rodman tangles with Williams underneath. They exchange words, and Williams adds a shove and a technical. And he may have been tossed. Steve Javie seemed to indicate he was not only calling a technical, but maybe even throwing out Lorenzo Williams. Dallas, remember, already without Roy Tarpley for this game. Now Javie heads to the scores table. We'll find out the extent of the penalties.
You got a double foul. Okay, double foul.
Double foul.
And Rodman. Okay, there are no team fouls. They're personal. Technical foul.
I'm not sure the technical on Dennis Rodman.
Since the ball was loose on a double foul, it'll be a jump ball at center court. All right. What do we got? A double person?
Well, you got a double foul and a technical on Williams. Rodman gets his first. Williams gets his first.
Dennis Rodman likes to use his hands defensively. You see the end of this, they were already locked up. It was Williams who really brought his elbow up into Dennis's chin.
So Sean Elliott to shoot the technical. Well, he made two free throws the other night with 3.4 seconds. That were about as pressure-packed as you can get in a regular season game.
And we'll have a jump ball.
Tied it almost forced overtime. Dennis this year, compared to last year, where he had 34 technicals, turning the other cheek. I mean, he's never going to be Mark Price, but he is certainly different than he was last year.
All right, Dick, thank you. He is brash, he is big, he is outrageous, he is mean. He scores, he rebounds, he dunks, and he cheerleads. He complains and bickers. He is Charles Barkley, but is he the boss? James Brown now with a story of how Charles became Charles.
Called everything from the round mound of rebound to simply Charles the Great. An NBA All-Star with an intimidating style and fiery personality, one which Barkley developed long before becoming a household name. This is where it all began for Charles Barkley, just a shout away from his house here in Leeds, Alabama. It's been many years since he sharpened his rebounding skills on this rusty backboard, but like this old court, Charles is always close. Still, just a shout away from his very special family.
Hello.
Hello, Granny. This is Charles Barkley of the Philadelphia 76ers. How you doing today?
Boy, I know you play for the 76ers. You have to tell me that every time you call, Charles Barkley.
Leeds is where Barkley's family still calls home. His parents separated at an early age, and Granny helped raise him while his mother worked 2 jobs. Charles realized even then who the head of the family was.
My grandmother's kind of like my father. You know, she is the dictator of the house. You know, it wasn't a democracy, it was a dictatorship. My grandmother runs everything.
I think my box is a little better than my bites. You know, I'm not that tough, but no, I'm real firm when it comes down to showing up getting to the point.
Getting to the point is one of the traits Charles has inherited. Never one to hide his feelings, he rarely backs down from a confrontation.
He wants to be tough, but he is tough, and he got to be tough. And I want him to be tough. I want him to be a man. If you feel like somebody is stepping on you wrong, you let him know.
An avid sports fan herself, Johnny Edwards still dabbles in the sport she played as a schoolgirl. At age 62, she enjoys a calmer lifestyle than when Charles was a boy, even though she insists on keeping close tabs on him.
Well, Granny, remember now, I'm grown. I call him from Alabama if he does something that I doesn't approve of. And I tell him if I was close there, I'd hit you dead in your mouth, boy, because you talks too much or something, you know. Oh, yes.
Little has changed after all these years. Granny still lives with Mom, but is still considered the head of the family.
It doesn't bother me because it has made a difference.
She has experienced much more than I have. She's lived longer than I have, and she's a very wise person. She's very wise.
Sometimes when you're young, you're immature and you don't understand. But in the long run, it starts coming to you. You know that they're right. You know that they're right. You know that they're right because they just stay on you for some reason, and it's good for you.
Boys become men, and some men become all-stars. But even the tallest of the tall become small when they go back home.
And Charles brought his own television set with him and just finished watching that piece about Grandma. You know, Charles got married on Thursday night, but that's not the big news. Grandma's getting married March 3rd. You know, we call him Charles, and in the NBA, first or nicknames will do. And that's the subject of our final comments when we come back. Stay with us.
Danny Manning not too happy with the way things are going. Figures he'll just take a seat in the front row. Ever wonder what mascots do in their spare time? Minnesota's Crunch sticks it to the Phoenix Gorilla and makes a monkey out of him.
Christian Laettner, one of the enduring images of Game 4 was Christian hipping Rick Smits to the floor. They've been battling throughout the series, and Christian is saying enough with the elbows already.
I took 3 elbows to the neck and to the chin. And I mean, it doesn't matter if the guy's 9 feet tall. You don't play basketball with your elbows. And I wanted to do a lot more than just hip him a little bit because the refs were letting it go on. I mean, I don't elbow anybody else. Nobody else was elbowing me on the Pacers team. And I mean, that's uncalled for. I don't know if that's basketball. You're supposed to post up clean and then, you know, make a strong move.
Is that basketball?
It is basketball, and it's part that you have to live with is they hook up once again Smits.
And Rick Smits shoots over Christian Laettner for his 9th point in the battle of the pivot men. Smits with 9, Laettner with 4. Unfortunately for Christian, Smits is so much bigger that his elbow hits him usually just right about the neck.
And that's, you know, an unfortunate position as Alan Henderson throws it down with 2 hands, but Laettner has to respond. He has to stay in the game, and he has to use his advantage, which is quickness on the outside, ability to put the ball on the floor to draw fouls against Smits.
Lenny Wilkins telling us that he has urged Christian to not commit the silly fouls, to stay in the game. They need him in the game. Here's a 3-second call against Smits this time.
Rick Smits is really energized at the offensive end, and when he's making shots like this, he stays in the ball game. They need that kind of inside force. Laettner, showing his ability to make plays off the dribble, neutralizes Smits' effort.
That's the 5th Indiana turnover in this second. Man, has it gotten physical.
And Laettner's looking over Jess Kersey and said, "You got to call it." Said, "I didn't see it."
Laettner muscles his way in and is hammered.
And he got smacked on the back of the head. That's like one of those knockout blows that was inadvertently delivered, but you watch the quick step of Laettner, and Smits smacks him right across the top of the head.
That's 3 fouls on Rick Smits. Got his money's worth on that one.
What Laettner has to do is keep his composure, stay in the ball game, continue to keep the pressure on Rick Smits to defend him outside in. He's telling Bob Delaney, that's not right, but you're going to the free throw line. Forget about the fact that you're getting hit. Keep making the play.
Laettner has 9 points and 8 rebounds, and quickly is becoming one of the Pacer fans' least favorite players on the opposition.
It is up to Laettner to understand that if he lets Rick Smits take him out of the ball game, he loses his edge, he loses his advantage. So he's got to keep within himself, even though he's taking some shots that he thinks are cheap ones.
Calmly sinks the 2 free throws and then glares at Smits and then the Indiana bench. He scored Atlanta's last 5 points for 21 points.
And Smits, who has had an advantage in a one-on-one matchup, now has lost it against almost both of those players. Rick Smits has 2 points here in the second half. He only had 2 in the second half in Game 4.
Oh, 4th team foul of the quarter. Laettner goes baseline, travel.
That's a good call. Officials are emphasizing that.
I know Christian's not going to like that. 13 Atlanta turnovers. Indiana protecting the ball well. For 63-51, 7 minutes to go, third quarter. Here's Smits, Laettner with a foul.
Christian Laettner, his second three on the Hawks.
63-51, Indiana with the lead, time ball. And now a moment we've been waiting for. Danny Ainge critiquing this quiet coffee talk between DeRosa and Laettner.
Well, I love the conversations here that they have between officials, but DeRosa doesn't like it. But look at that right there. That's a chin butt right there. I think that could be a one-game suspension for LaRosa.
And Lenny Wilkins acting as a peacemaker, and Joe DeRosa and Christian Laettner, of course, the best of friends. 6:54 to go. Chin butt, huh?
Well, Christian's lucky he didn't get a technical right there. Lenny jumped in to intervene, save Christian.
Feet and all, battling on the boards, pulled down that key rebound, and here's Reggie Miller. Hammered, and then an elbow to Henderson. That is a technical foul, and Reggie Miller let his emotions get the best of him there.
Well, he got whacked across the eye, his goggles went off, and he responded saying, you know, the one thing I don't want to do is get hurt, and he felt that that was unnecessary. Remember the last time we were here? He lost his emotions, got tossed out of the game against San Antonio when he disagreed with the officials. Strong drive, you got to know you're going to get hit. He gets smacked right across the head and gives a shot.
So technical foul called for the elbow. There it is. And Steve Smith at the line for Atlanta. And he gets the roll. Well, Reggie Miller losing his cool for a moment. I don't think the foul was intentional, but of course he's very sensitive.
You can't blame him. He's fearful of another injury. Glasses either are not clear, and he wants Mark Jackson to wipe him off. That's what it is. They got fogged up. I don't need glasses to shoot, though. So clean me up, Mark, and then I can use them at the other end of the floor.
See, he's going to put him back in for this second free throw. Put him back on. He can shoot him blindfolded, I would imagine.
Of course, mistaken identity can happen. For a minute, I thought George Karl was John Lithgow. Anyway, we warned you. You better not cry. But cry these head coaches did. Pout? You know better. Seinfeld. This new comedy. Lockery. A wisecracking coach who never gets the last word.
Well, this was a week in which the trash was taken out early and often. Watch Mike fly after that block shot. Beautiful work. Only he tapped the glass with the offhand. Goaltending. But Mike says, you do know who I am, don't you? And watch John Starks get tapped by Petrovic on the way by, and immediately, like a jack-in-the-box, he sprang right up in his face. Still wondering why they call Charles Oakley Oak Tree? Does that paint a picture for you?
Consistently for 2 years I've been injured, and it's been very hard to sit by and watch. The role I want to play is to be part of the team and play. I feel that if I play, if I'm on the court, positive things are going to happen.
I don't say I want to score this or rebound this because that doesn't mean anything. I'm a winner, and I want to get back to winning like Juwan and I used to do in college. So.
Tried to knife it inside to Horace Grant. The ball is loose. Jordan comes away with it, and now Oakley gets it to Wilkins. Pippen pulls Wilkins down hard.
That's going to be the two-shot foul and the ball out of bounds because he really didn't make a play in the ball. He just grabbed them from behind. I think Scotty thought he was doing a wise thing to stop the easy basket, but you see the scramble. Look at a great hustle by Michael, but Horace can't handle it, and then Oakley's on the deck, and finally Wilkins out from behind. No play on the ball. He finally grabs Wilkins, and that's a good call.
It's a breakaway foul, so there'll be 2 free throws, and the Knicks will get the ball. Mark Jackson got Paxson on his back and spins into the lane. They exchange some words. Lob down to Corzine, who'll get the layup. Corzine with 14 points. Not much defense on that transition from Jackson. He was talking to Paxson.
Well, he overreacted.
Spins himself into trouble by driving down on the baseline, but it goes off Chicago.
You're going to see what happens. He'll throw it. Paxson falls down. Now, when Jackson gets up after this basket starts to run down, when Paxson gets up, he's going to bump into him with the bottom. He was just getting up, and see, Jackson just overreacted. Paxson was just getting up off the court and bumped into him. So,
the game was uneventful. I think, remember the second half or something, the ball goes up.
A shot was taken, missed, rebounded.
And I think it was me, Kevin Coonard, and Kareem went for a rebound.
Ball bounced long, and Houston was running on a fast break.
We're coming down on a fast break. John Lucas has the ball. Rudy's filling one lane, I'm filling the other.
I fouled Kevin trying to get in front of him. I grabbed his hip and tried to propel myself in front of him to catch up to, the guys that were going down the court.
Which wasn't out of the ordinary. We've all done it. I've done it 1,000 times.
Well, he elbows me with his left elbow in the face.
But the elbow's not to hurt, it's to, man, get off.
So when he turned around, I thought he was going to say he was sorry, but he turned around and hit me in my face again. Then I said, well, that's not a mistake. So then we started swinging on each other.
The instinct for any player, when you see an incident like that, is you grab the guy on the other team, neutralize him, and, to stop the fight. So that's what I did.
And he pushes Kermit away. Now, Rudy T, of course, who's the captain of the Rockets, was filling one lane. He's running towards Jabbar and Kevin to calm Kevin down when Kermit, who's backing up, looks over his shoulder.
He turned and saw Rudy running toward him, and basically his instinct was just to turn and swing.
He stopped, plants, and I saw the punch coming, and Rudy was running and saw the punch coming also and threw his hands up to protect it, and of course the punch comes over it.
I didn't see it, but I heard it. It sounded like a melon that had been dropped on the floor. I turned and I looked, and Rudy was on the floor, and there was a pool of blood, and it was just right around his face, and it started expanding.
When Rudy comes to his senses, he actually thought the scoreboard had fallen on him.
Everything just stopped. A whole place just became very silent.
For Kermit and Rudy, life would never be the same. But at the time, no one realized the consequences of what had happened.
And then Laimbeer had something to say to the officials about Thomas taking the shot. He was hit with the technical. Offensive foul on John Starks, who just checked in. And the Piston players now upset with Starks, and things may be getting out of hand at both ends, although Darryl Garrison, who is the NBA supervisor of officials, is trying to calm things down. A timeout. We'll be right back. A very chippy start to this ball game. Anthony Mason in the midst of it all. He's a very strong physical player who has had a number of incidents during the course of the season. We asked Anthony, is there any player who has intimidated him? Replacing Ewing. That's time left in the third. Detroit with the ball. They're down by 6 points. John Starks, who just checked in, playing Joe Dumars, and a hold on Starks. He and Dumars have words. Now, Joe Dumars rarely gets involved, so you know something set him off. John has been known to, as they say, talk trash. In fact, at times Pat Riley has tried to calm him down, but there you can see why Starks was upset, because he took a pretty good shot from Dumars.
Dumars, however, does not waste energy putting on a show of macho behavior.
Sacó Flatrito, lanzamiento de este, convertido. Non é habitual presenciar esa imaxe dos graderíos do Fórum, uns graderíos realmente con aspecto desolador. Aí vemos esa acción que se saldou coa caída de Treat, pero houve falta persoal do base dos Lakers sobre John Stockton. Stockton, balón para Carmelo, que aí pivota perfectamente. Atención á posición da perna de Carmelo cando caía. De todos xeitos non sucedeu nada, el reclamaba a falta. Non o entenderon así os árbitros. Aí está a repetición. Dirixindo agora o seu equipo polo Chan Canhalley. Malone, que se enfada con Jack Halley, soltoulle un zarpazo o cartero a Halley, este que ni se inmuta. Habrá que ver si ese poder de intimidación de Carmelo surge efecto. Dirigiendo ataque de Lakers, acción individual, non anota. Easy Green o rebote, tampouco consigue anotar, pero sí conseguiu sacar a falta persoal. Aí falta técnica. Cando menos vimos a un árbitro sinalando, supoñemos que sería sobre Stockton, porque as cámaras de televisión céntranse sobre o base de Utah. Vamos a ver na liña de tiros para efectuar o lanzamento da técnica. Aí está Byron Scott, que anota o lanzamento. Efectivamente a falta técnica debe de ser a John Stockton. Aí está Stockton, trataba de picar balón para Malone, non o conseguiu, recuperou o Lakers, só falta do propio Carmelo. Probablemente Sloan solicite tempo morto se non lle pitan a técnica por todas esas protestas. Xa deberon de pitar. Está tremendamente enfadado. O adestrador de Utah, como podemos ver. Vamos a ver ahora na liña de tiros Byron Scott, lanzamento da técnica. Convertido.
Steve got a good look at it. He missed a three.
Take a look at the foul again. Dennis, guess he did wrap him up. Steve had back-to-back threes, and then he missed a couple.
Miller from Smiths. Won't count. Offensive foul. Reggie Miller called for number 4.
How about John Starks' physical toughness on this play? Starks in the way of Miller, and he bounced back up with great vigor and got a lot of pats on the back from his teammates.
Clock running down. He's able to get to the rebound and finds Ewing, who is hammered by Person. And Patrick Ewing did not like that foul.
It looked like he got verbal against Person, who's known for his verbal play on the court. And he's talking, but he was quiet. He was silent. Jackson finds Ewing, sets him up. Ewing wants to stuff. He wants to go inside. Patrick's saying like the person who does a lot of listening.
Ewing is 15 for...
On the playgrounds of French Lick, Indiana, Bird wound up playing his college ball at Indiana State, leading the Sycamores to the NCAA Final in 1979, losing to Michigan State and Magic Johnson. That was the start of a personal rivalry that would help propel the sport to its highest level of popularity. 3 times they met in the finals, with Magic and the Lakers winning twice.
Decisive routes in championship game history.
With his season-long quest bitterly dying before him, the normally private Bird made his feelings shockingly public.
Well, we just play like a bunch of women tonight. You know, we got some great players on this team, but we don't have the players with the heart sometimes that we need. And today, when you see Magic slapping high fives, until we get our hearts where they belong, we're in trouble.
Larry was frustrated. He was disappointed, as we all were, that we got blown out by 33 points on national TV. But when he said that guys play with no heart, I knew what would happen in the next game. I knew what would happen in that series. Guys would do anything.
Here's Kareem, outlet to Worthy, Rambis. Benches are empty, and you knew this was going to happen. You could see it coming.
Bird had sounded the call to battle. The time for Lakers celebration was over.
He swings the elbow, and now is yelling at Larry Bird. Jaw to jaw.
It drew the team together, and I think that they all responded and said, yeah, hey, let's make sure that we aren't playing like sissies. Maybe.
For 3 games, LA had scored at will. Now Boston would make them pay for every point. In this contest, the Celtics would set the tempo.
Larry always gave the game everything he had, but there was a heavy price to pay for that all-out hustle. Bird had a severe back injury, and he was forced to walk away from the game he loved at the age of 35.
Take your time. All right. Gotta win now.
Now he's returned to his home state of Indiana, this time as head coach of the Pacers.
Casey has not scored yet, the only starter for the Bulls. Corzine in and out, Walton the rebound, and now they're going to call the foul, and Banks and Bird look at each other, and it looks like Banks was hit.
22nd timeout.
There's some banging going on there. Corzine Sharper, watch Bird now swing. Banks, and a little more swinging. Shall we dance?
No dance. We'll have a timeout. Larry Bird, who hit Gene Banks in the head, is called for his first personal foul. The Celtics have been over the limit, and that's what Larry Bird has done. 0 for period, but this was a key play as far as Larry Bird and the Celtics go.
Well, that's the penalty you pay Larry Bird as a team defender. Good pick, and Bird tries to fight his way through, and doing that hurts his hand, and you can see already he's looking at that right hand, and it ended up his last 2 fingers. Now he gets a little angry and goes at Banks, which I don't think was quite fair.
Can sign with whomever he wants, I was told before the game. No question about him, as the whistle is blown down on the inside by Mathis. Now for Whitman, that is number 3.
As Whitman and Bird retaliating, that's what normal play in a low post. When a guard goes out there and tries to play a guy, and
fighting, and it's still Celtics ball. Larry Bird plays every game as if the next shot will win it.
It's like it's his last game. That's how hard he plays. Here's Mahorn, just nudges him off the court.
Kareem over Parrish. Parrish, good defense, and Bird was hit in the eye. It's Celtics ball, and he was really clobbered.
I mean, where's the foul going to be? But here's a nice move by Kareem. Parrish hanging on his shooting hand, and there's Bird and Magic right into him, and no foul, right in the face.
15-4 have the Celtics outscored the Detroit Pistons. Biggest lead for either team right now. And Dumars is fouled with 1 second on the clock, and now they say it's a foul against Detroit, and Lane Beer is close to a technical foul, and he's got it.
We're going to see why he's upset. Bird is trying to fight through the pick, and he deposits Bird down there, and he wanted a foul on Bird. Chuck Daly saying, my man doesn't argue that. That's why he's a technical.
Lane Beer is still mad.
You better cool off, or he'll...
People like MacArthur, who the war happens, and Patton, General Patton, there's a war for them to shine in. Larry was born to play basketball.
Touching the hearts of all those who have watched him play, he has left behind a sense of wonder and a legend.
Ball career is officially over, and I had a blast. So tonight I leave. I leave basketball forever. I leave a game that I loved. Sorry, but I'm gone. I'm history. I dedicated my life to basketball, and I dedicated my life to the Boston Celtics. So I say good night, Boston, and may God bless each and every one of you. Good night.
Gamble. Hay falta de Kevin Gamble. No, Dumars. O sea, canasta anterior de Orlando Bullrich.
Floats by the basket. Twice missed that shot in the first half when he tried to use the backboard. That time shot straight in. Fans are reacting here to the instant replay, feeling like it should have been another offensive foul on Kevin Gamble.
John Bagley dirixindo operacións para Boston. Xogo detido. Isto pode ser unha técnica fácil. O adestrador de Detroit, a Chuck Daly. Habrá que ver si hai un tiro sen rebote. Efectivamente. A técnica Chuck Daly protestaría probablemente esta acción, que se considerou como a falta de Dumars.
They scored 101 for a +4 ratio. And they are one of the top teams again in that category. Cassell was tripped, lost the ball. Doug West in the open court, takes it in, and he scores.
Yeah, Sam was tripped, but nevertheless it was still another turnover. Now Sam has got to start thinking about his turnover opposed to his assist ratio. Now that's 4 turnovers for him right now, Bill.
Yeah, that's 4 turnovers for Sam, and only 4 points and only 3 assists. And a technical foul now he's been hit with, and that's going to cost his team some more points.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Olajuwon and Otis Thorpe is upset about that now. Unfortunately, he was tripped, but he got to get up and get back into the defensive end of the play, Bill. Now, this is the thing that I like about the Rockets team this year. His players are upset with the fact that he got a technical. They want him to stay mentally involved in the game.
So Rudy will call a timeout.
They're on a direct pass, and you're not going to do that in this league against guys who can leap.
Wallace with a half hook. He has 9. And Washington leads it 64-55.
So we got a technical foul down at the other end. And I think it may be against Wallace. Rasheed Wallace. Now, you talked about that in the first half, Fred.
And he has had a propensity to pick him up.
Let's see, Hunter will shoot the technical.
So Hunter will shoot the tee. Right now they're just And Washington trying to get Wallace to settle down and learn and be more ears than lips right now, but he's a fiery kind of guy and is rather mercurial when he's on the floor. So he sits down, and Bob McCann replaces him.
And the Sixers again are foiled with 2:20 to play in the half. Pressey goes behind around Wingate. Offensive foul against the Bucks. That's only the 4th team foul. And Don Nelson has been tossed out of the game. 2 technicals, he's gone. Don Nelson has been hit with 2 technicals and is out of the game with 2:14 remaining in the first half. He had to be restrained by Del Harris, who will take over now.
Here's the play, and if a complete charge, there was no question about it. But when you are as emotional as this game has become for Don Nelson because of his situation, his boiling point perhaps a little bit too low. And he just boiled over. And Earl Strum said, take an early vacation.
Well, we're going to discuss the Don Nelson situation, and Del Harris will take over the team now. He was the coach of the Houston Rockets when they lost to the Celtics in the '81 finals in 6 games. And Tommy, I've got to think that both of these coaches, Guokas and Nelson, and we haven't gotten into the Nelson story, but we will, even though they put it on the back burner, have to be affected by all that's been...
Labor de aproximación, chegou por atrás Darrell Walker, meteu a man, roubou balón, o segundo que rouba así Pistons. Agora Manute Ball foi quen tapa no lanzamento de Joe Dumars, pero aí temos a ese xogador africano de 29 anos, 2.30, que ten un salario de $1.300.000 nada menos. Rebote Dumars, lanzamento, tampouco entra, la envía, rebote ofensivo, sigue sumando capturas en ataque o equipo de Detroit. En o terceiro esforzo conseguiu anotar Darrell Walker. 37-41. Vaise de 4 puntos Detroit. Dawkins. Balón para Pistons, a falta personal de Manute Ball. En ataque se lo dio la envío. Manute Ball que se va al banco, entra Charles Barkley. Ahí está a repetición, el enfrentamento a derecha entre la Embiid e Manute Ball. Como la Embiid sacó vamos a ver qué se pita ahí. Absolutamente nada. Balón Detroit. No, falta en ataque de Hawkins. Falta de Hersey Hawkins. Esa acción que hemos repetido. Boa defensa de la Embiid. Solicitando a falta personal. Hay tiempo muerto de Filadelfia. John Lynam, que protesta ahora airadamente, solicitando, miren un gesto claro, solicitando a falta personal, e como siga protestando así, van a señalar una técnica, polo alborozo que se ve nas bancadas, pois o máis probable que esa técnica se haya sinalarán a Lynam, polo que o partido se vai a reanudar con un tiro libre para Detroit. E esa foi a acción na que se pedía falta. O tiro convertido por la Embiid. E agora sacará Filadelfia. O movimento ofensivo con ese reverso de Dennis Rodman. Unha mágoa co balón non lle entrara, porque hoxe soltouse a melena. Evidentemente é unha metáfora, porque o corte de pelo de Dennis Rodman é realmente famoso, pero a verdade é que no aspecto anotador hoxe está realmente prolífico o número 10 de Detroit. Houbo falta en ataque de Jason Williams Aí están vendo esa acción sobre Bill Laimbeer. É a segunda que sacan ataque Laimbeer neste partido. 81-84. Aí si a Thomas. Dumas. Laimbeer, canastra. 81-86. Muy difícil, se lle está poñendo o partido a Filadelfia. E curiosamente por erros da súa máxima estrela Charles Barkley. Errou 2 tiros libres e posteriormente nun contraataque, aí están vendo, petou con Bill Laimbeer e iso propiciou que o seu equipo deixase de anotar 4 puntos que o terían aínda no partido, estarían 85-86 e con posesión de balón. Agora perde de 5 e resta 1 minuto e segundos para a conclusión do jogo. De todos os xeitos, os Sixers unha nova toma desa acción, agora xa con realización perfecta en unha cámara rápida como vimos antes. Está Charles Barkley enfrentado co árbitro do partido, Armon Gillian, que o separa. Está fora de sí totalmente Charles Barkley, que é expulsado. A descalificante, por lo tanto, para Charles Barkley, que se vai directamente aos vestuarios. Un Charles Barkley que estará escoitando absolutamente de todo. E a quen, a pesar de todos, aficionados de Detroit aplauden a súa retirada aos vestuarios. Vai entrar Charles Shackelford e aí está a descalificación de Charles Barkley. John Lynam, que ve con...
With the Knicks in disarray, is it time to rebuild the franchise? Is it time to do the unthinkable and trade Patrick Ewing and his contract? 6 years ago, Ewing was considered the franchise savior. Has he now become the problem instead of the solution?
Everybody's saying, poor Patrick, you know, but poor Gerald, poor Maurice Cheeks, poor Kiki Vandeweghe, poor Charles Oakley, Mark Jackson, and the like of the rest of the team. We're all in this together. Until we realize that we're all in this together, and it's not just one guy that's going to take us, we're not going to come together.
The only frustration I have is, not being able to win. That's it. No matter what, we play, what style we play, the bottom line is we have to win.
Bulls lead the Nuggets. Macon back in, Chris Jackson out. Macon looking to get open as Garland comes off the screen. Long two, and air ball. And Cadillac Anderson foul.
That's the second shot now that was taken from the outside and was short. Scott Hastings picked one up, threw it back, and Will is gone. Will is gone. That's his 6th foul. But the shot is short. Cadillac Anderson gets it. Will comes in and a foul. Now there's a technical on him. He's gone anyway. Now he's got to leave the building. So Will compounds it for 3:27. Now what Will is upset is that they're not calling very many.
On both ends,
yeah, calling them on both ends. And there's a technical on who? Who is that? Macon is thrown out. Garland is thrown out.
And he's gone.
He's gone. He got thrown out. Whoa. So the security man, old Gus, will walk him down the stairs.
Why would he get thrown? Why would he get thrown out?
I don't know what happened.
What could he have done?
I don't know what happened on that play, but he said something to Kenny Maurer. So Jordan will shoot the technical on this end. So Michael makes the tee. Shot is short.
Oh my God, Joey!
Oh my God, Joey. Will picks up the foul, and Garland gets a tee and is thrown out.
Yeah. Well, he was upset, I guess, about not having a foul called on him taking the shot. So now Cadillac Anderson again, a 60% shot.
What happened, they tried to lob a pass to Julius, and he said
Lanier in the right place at the right time, and a loose ball foul is called against Lanier. With those knees, you better not hop up and down so much. Loose ball foul against Bob Lanier, and he's angry. And a technical foul.
I think they call a technical foul on the Milwaukee bench, though, not on Bob Lanier.
And Lanier is
At least I don't think so.
Is still rankled and has to be calmed down by Sidney Moncrief. And Andrew Toney will shoot the technical foul here. We've just completed a little more than 2 minutes of game one, and we have a 6-6 tie. Toney misses the technical. It'll be Philadelphia ball. Foul on Lanier.
Patience.
And Philly would like also for Marcus Johnson to have to shoot from outside. If there's any kind of a game in Moncrief's repertoire that's a little weak, it's the outside shot. Now Philadelphia tried to open up a 10-point lead here. And a technical foul has been called against Don Nelson. That's the second technical on Milwaukee. The first was on Bob Lanier.
And I think what Don Nelson was saying is that their offense is set up such that they expose the illegal defense
by spreading their offense.
Right, and if and they're counting on the fact that the referee will call this. The referees don't like to have that
brought to their attention
in the manner that it was called.
Julius misses the technical foul,
and that's the hardest shot in basketball. I think that's harder than three-point play is to shoot that technical foul.
There's no one around you.
Dikembe Mutombo Molondo Mukamba Jean-Jacques Va Mutombo Becker. Ja. So kann man Mutombo auch nicht stoppen. À la Ringer-Manier. Nur damit er nicht vom Boden abheben kann. Das Foul geht gegen ihn, gegen Jalen Rose. Da schauen wir doch mal von hinten. Ja, noch offensichtlicher kann man jemanden nicht faulen. Keine Chance, Mutombo zu stoppen. Da ist das sinnvoll, den Mann in dieser Situation so zu faulen. Also wenn es wirklich knapp wäre, könnte ich es ja noch verstehen. Aber an dieser Stelle, wie ich finde, ein bisschen übertrieben von Rick Hassler. Oh, Mutombo! Ist er schon so groß? Und so nah am Ring knallt das Ding hinten drauf. Ja, das lag nicht an den Händen. Vielleicht ein Schrittchen näher zum Korb kommen. Da haben wir es nochmal. Er ist verlegt, Rick Hassler. Dann ist Mutombo da. Und haut das Ding hinten auf den Ring. Ja, hat er da vielleicht Respekt vor Antonio Davis gehabt? Ist ja auch ein Riesenspringer. Der Mann bei den
Celtics right now really just trying to take time off the clock, not searching out the best shot. And sometimes you get in trouble doing that.
DJ again penetrates this time, gets the roll.
When you work the clock down, instead of taking the best shot, sometimes you end up with the poorest of attempts, and that helps the other team get back in the ballgame.
20-second timeout called by Seattle as Xavier McDaniel either got whacked or went down hard. I'm not sure which. He was holding his head at the other end. 2:10 to go, 103-92, Boston by 11. See if we can see what happened to McDaniel here.
They rush out to pick up DJ, and there goes DJ up. And Polynice hits him right in the forehead, his own teammate. Maybe that's why Polynice isn't playing an awful lot.
That's right, he's wiping guys out.
Wiping guys out on his own team. There you go. Boom.
Olden.
Boom. Another boom.
Seattle ball in the corner, 2:07 to play, down 11. Xavier saying, what was that guy doing in the game?
Coach, what are you doing? He manhandles me in practice. Put him out in the game and he's still manhandling me? He's on my team.